Welcome back, Nick Lenz Movie Review, episode number 127. This I'm viewing the second film of Marvel Phase 2 and overall the 8th film released for the MCU. This is Thor: The Dark World. Yeah, I bought this today. I repeatedly asked this for Christmas, never got it, so I figured though, get it. Though there's some strange things involved in this film. For one thing, when I saw this at Walmart, apparently the price never dropped for this film. It stayed the same price for 6 freaking years. As for why the heck this was, I have no idea. But there's also some strange behind the scenes stuff. Apparently this film was originally going to be directed by Patty Jenkins. Yes, the same woman who would basically direct Wonder Woman. And of course, Wonder Woman 1984. She apparently has some, and of course Natalie Portman was very happy going to be working with her, and then she left due to creative differences. Natalie Portman was going to leave this particular film, not basically just opt out because she wanted to work with Patty Jenkins. She was basically forced against her will to be in this film. Yes. I'm sure everybody else now will probably be in the movie. Of course, the movie is directed by Alan Taylor. Now, this film does the return of several characters. I like in the case of some of the other films, it's like 4 or 5 characters. This time we see the return of Thor, Odin, Frigga, the Warriors 3, Lady Sif, Jane Foster, Darcy, Eric Selvig, and Loki. And that's it. We do see appearance of one of Thor's brothers in the movie. He plays a minor role in the movie. Oh, and also, Heimdall is back in the film. Yes, I forgot to mention in my last review, the Iron Man 3 had one post-credit scene. One. What was the post-credit scene? Tony Stark talking to Bruce Banner. That was it. Excuse me. This film basically has the debut of 2 major characters in the comic books in this film. First, of course, is Malekith the Accursed, played by Christopher Eccleston. Yes, Christopher Eccleston plays Malekith the Accursed, the Dark Elf. Now, this film also has the debut of Cole Borson. Well, the debut of Bor, per se. Thor's grandfather. Yeah, he appears in a flashback where him and the armies of Asgard fight the Dark Elves, which they win. And of course, Malekith sacrifices Dark Elves. Why the heck he does this for is never actually explained. Yes. Yeah, then the film cuts to cuts to different places, like one Asgard. Apparently Loki's in prison. He remains in prison the whole movie. Though, yes, they do revisit it. Now, we see Jane Foster in London. I think she's in London, I think it is, right? Where is London? They're in London. And investigates some some stuff related to some object that she finds. Thor basically just comes back after basically cleaning up a mess that was left basically when the Bifrost Bridge basically was broken. Yes. Apparently the Night Realms were in chaos, so Thor spent all that time when he wasn't going to Earth basically cleaning up a bunch of messes. And of course, while everything settled down, Thor wanted him to get involved with Lady. It was implied that Odin wanted to set him up with Lady Sif, a character which doesn't get much development in this movie at all. Well, no, of course these films. She does, of course, return for a couple episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. after this. I'll get to that soon. Now, Thor goes to Earth because, well, something's going with Jane Foster. She comes across this pillar and touches this ether. Yes, this is later to be one of the Infinity Stones, believe it or not. Yep, one of the Infinity Stones. So, Thor basically takes Jane to Asgard. And of course, well, they go to Asgard. She gets examined. Of course, like she said, take her to human doctors. And of course, you reveal that, oh yeah, there's something inside of her. She basically talks to the people there, like, this is a particular object. Like, they call it this, but yeah, it's the same thing, but they call it something different. Some kind of scanning device. And of course, she has to stay there. And then, of course, basically, she has a really good scene where meets Thor's mother. I have to talk about this again. Frigga is not Thor's mother. Despite the fact a lot of writers seem to forget that little factoid about Frigga. Frigga has never been Thor's mother. She's Thor's stepmother. You see, Thor's mother is Mother Nature, Gaia. And apparently, like half the writers, most of the writers in Marvel, forget that little factoid. They probably assume that she's Thor's mother due to the fact she's Odin's freaking wife. Yes, and we'll talk about something really bad happens during this movie. I mean, I gotta say, her reaction with Rene Russo is actually really good. I love it. It's really good. And of course, I love the scene where before Thor goes to Earth, he basically talks to Heimdall. Heimdall basically leaves his post to get a drink with Thor. It's actually a really well directed scene. Nice good conversation, chat it up. And this, of course, Wrath returns from cleaning up the realms. And basically, while being there, she meets up later on with Loki. Punch in the face says, that was for New York. Great callback to Avengers. And she's like, hey, you were in New York and you didn't tell me? Yep. So you have Heimdall. While this is going on, Heimdall is basically just doing his job. And then he senses something. And he jumps up into the air and slices at one of Malekith's ships. Yeah, now, my only guess is the reason why he's able to detect this is because he has his all-seeing eyes. It's probably his eyes are closed at this point. But he's able to probably sense this because he's very good at his job. And, well, he's able to take out this one ship. But then you have Malekith who just storms right into the palace. Throws a grenade at Odin's humongous throne. And I do agree with E-Rod with this particular scene. Why the heck does he have no emotion, no reaction to seeing the throne of his biggest archenemy destroyed? Yeah, it's like, okay, you threw an exploding grenade at your enemy's throne, and you don't have any reaction. And eventually he confronts Frigga, who he stabs her, and then she dies. Yep, Frigga dies. Yep. And then, of course, well, they have to get Jane Foster out of there. So, Heimdall fakes a revolt against Odin. So, Thor and Loki team up to take Jane Foster out of there, just so I can ruin the ether. They inadvertently give it to Malekith, which is something he wanted to do. And, of course, okay, I gotta reveal what's going on with Elric Stalvig here. Yes, this is something really weird related to him. Yeah, apparently, when you first see in the movie, apparently he's running around butt naked around Stonehenge, carrying on these strange devices. Yeah, he's a little messed up the head after what Loki did to him in Avengers. Yep, and apparently he's freaking nuts. Also, Stan Lee makes a cameo in the Mental Institute he's kept in. It's, hey, I have a question. Any question? It's like, after he explains everything, like, hey, can I have my shoe back, please? It's so funny. Eventually gets released, and Thor basically reacts and say, hey, I'll go get some pants on, because apparently he's walking around pants on for some reason. Look if he's wearing boxers. At least not running half naked for some reason. Yep. What these devices are, apparently some kind of trans-dimensional things. So apparently the Dark Elves later on come to Earth, and they start attacking London, and of course Thor has this big brawl with Malekith all over the frickin' city. Causes a lot of destruction. Eventually, Malekith is killed by frickin' Thor while using the device basically send his parts of various other dimensions. We also see there's one other character who does make his live action debut in this film, and that's frickin' Curse. Yes, Curse. This is his first appearance in the movie. He's actually somebody who's sort of, let's just say, an old enemy of Thor's. Yes. I mean, he's one of the Dark Elves. And here's kind of the interesting thing. As a promotion for this particular film, in the Thor comic book, they actually brought back, I kid you not, they brought back Malekith just for promotion for this particular film. Because, well, Loki is a hero, so why not bring back Malekith, who has been recurring in Thor comics since then? Yep. At one point when they have a conversation with Malekith, they have Loki have a fake betrayal, chops off Thor's hand, and then eventually, yep, it's a ruse. And apparently we see Loki die, getting stabbed by freaking Malekith. Yeah, and then later on he Well, this is of course before his big brawl with him. And then of course after Malekith was killed, he goes back to Asgard without Jane, and basically tells about the Loki sacrifice, and it's revealed that this Odin is not actually Odin, it's actually Loki in disguise. There's two post-credit scenes in this movie. First, it's basically Volstagg and Lady Sif taking one of the Infinity Stones to the Collector. The whole point of this scene is to set up Guardians of the Galaxy. The other one is basically Thor returning to Earth, reunited with Jane Foster. This goes absolutely nowhere, because Jane Foster does not come back after this until Thor Love and Thunder. Yep, it takes almost 10 years to make a return to the MCU. Yep. Now, for a film that's not very popular with a lot of people, yeah, that's the strange thing about this particular film, is that out of all the Thor films, also for Phase 2, this is by far the second lowest gross out of the entire line. Yes. The film itself only earned about $650 million, a $202 million budget. Okay, so you can kind of consider this movie to be a disappointment. Now, how did I see this movie? Okay, fun fact about this particular movie. This is the only movie of the entire MCU I never got a chance to see in theaters. And there's a very stupid reason for that. My dad has this thing where he has to wait for my mom to decide they go to freaking movies. I mean, I really wanted to see this movie with theaters. Never got a chance to. I eventually did get a chance to see this movie online. I had to see a bootleg version of it. I wasn't very happy with that. But apparently this particular version was somebody recording this particular film. Even though I watched a legal version of the movie, Leo said I was able to see it because apparently, as what site I did it, I don't remember because it was 6 years ago. Yeah, it's been 6 years since this film came out, and I don't remember what site it was. I actually found this bootleg version of this particular film. Yeah, I have no idea. The thing with this film, I do have some minor gripes about this movie. Malekith looks fantastic. Eccleston looks great in the role. But the problem is, the guy gives off no emotion at all. Malekith in the comic gives off a ton of emotion. It doesn't matter who's drawing him or writing him, he always gives off a good amount of emotion. In the movie, he gives off no emotion at all. It's a okay performance by the character. Curse looks absolutely fantastic as a special effect. Nothing much else to him. Basically, as for why Malekith is doing all the crazy stuff he's doing in this movie, no idea. And, well, Loki, my only guess is now, the thing is, prior to this film, they actually have a Comic-Con panel to promote this movie where Tom Hiddleston in the Loki costume says, I remember seeing this basically line, it says, say my name, of course they say, Loki, say my name, Loki, because everybody loves Loki. And of course, the stupid thing a lot of people assumed for several years was the fact Loki was the only good villain of the MCU for quite a while. I disagree with that. He is not the only good villain that we have in the MCU. There's also Obadiah Stane, the frickin' Red Skull. I think Abomination is a great villain. And let's see. Robert Redford's character, Alexander Pierce, is a great villain, along with, there's several good ones, but yeah, I do agree Malekith is not one of the more good ones per se, but at least you gotta say that they actually got his look right, which is great. And if I want to say one of the biggest problems of the movie is that the relationship in this film between Thor and Jane Foster is much more forced than it was in the last film. Oh my gosh, they overdid it when it comes to the forced relationship stuff. And, well, Thor himself is back wearing his JMS costume. Though it's a slight update, but yeah, this is his costume he wears in the movie, which he's basically back to the JMS look. Yeah, if you see Avengers, he basically is sleeveless. In this film, he's got his sleeves back. As far as I know, there's been no explained reason for why this is. Where it's like, in his own movies, he's got long sleeves. Well, not in Thor Ragnarok. He actually's back to short sleeves. This film, he's back to long sleeves again. Now, aside from the fact of the stuff related to Jane Foster, the next film of the Thor series basically is considered to be the best film of the whole series, and the first Thor film to gross $1 billion. But that's not the next film I'm going to look at, basically, of this movie review series. Next, I'm going to start off with the film that people consider to be a good film for Phase 2. Now, Phase 2 had a rough start with it, with this film and Iron Man 3, where the reception for these two films were very mixed, and people were not getting high hopes for the rest of Phase 2. I mean, people love Phase 1. They love it. Phase 2 had a rough start to it. Yes, but it does get better with the next film, and it has a pretty good slope from that point forward. I mean, after the next film, none of the films are basically not that, let's say, get mixed reception. Yeah. But in the case of, if I choose a villain from between, the difference between the villains for this film and the previous film, I think Killing was probably a little more interesting of a villain because he at least had emotion to him. Malekith was just bland in the movie at best. And it's something though, you finally bring this interesting Thor villain to the movies, and you kind of screw his potential by making him emit no emotion. Aside from the fact he has his comic book accurate look, though basically, now here's the thing, Malekith is known for being very thin in the comics. In the film, apparently Eccleston decided to put on about 10 pounds of muscle. No idea why. I mean, last time I checked, Malekith is not a bodybuilder. Why the heck it looks like this, I have no idea. Yeah, I mean, there's some good positives about the movie. Chris Hemsworth does a fantastic job as Thor. Darcy, I thought was a really interesting film for her, is the fact she gets herself a boyfriend, though it kind of serves as her intern, but turns a relationship after he saves her from a dark elf, and they've become a couple, and she has returned for the next film. Nope, there's no explanation why she hasn't come back at all. Eric Stalvig is back. Yeah, he's actually, him makes perfect sense bringing back this movie. Not in the case of Age of Ultron. I will talk about that in about 3 videos from now. Loki is fantastic. Makes perfect sense to him popping in the movie because, well, he's Thor's brother. Yep. As for the God of War in this film, Titor, yeah, he has no role in this movie at all. Yeah, he just shows up because, well, he's from the comic books. Yeah, and I will talk about Thor Ragnarok, and I'll talk about the missing Asgardians, because by that film, most of the known Asgardians are basically in that film. Not every one, per se, but this film is pretty good. I'm going to give this film roughly a, I would say for plot-wise, the film basically, the villain's plan is a lot more interesting, let's say, Killian's plan. Yes, that's one thing I at least got to say that's different between this one and Iron Man 3. At least also, we're not retreading and ending at least a scene from a different movie. In Iron Man 3, we're retreading the first Thor film. This film, doesn't retread anything, but it's the first time we actually see the Asgardians participate in actual fighting. Because you see a little bit of the first Thor, for this one we actually have a good fight scene. And you see Thor actually kill the main villain in a great brawl. Yeah, I at least gotta praise the fact they actually had, like, it seems like they had a great time shooting this fight between Malekith and Thor. Yeah, where Malekith is basically, I think he had, now Thor's basically beating the crap out of him with his freaking hammer. And I think Malekith's got a sword. Yeah, but it's a great battle nonetheless. Though it's similar to what they did with Avengers, but there's the thing. It's one hero against an army of dark elves. By the way, after this film, there is an aftermath related to this particular film in the case of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yes. They have an episode that picks up right where the film left off, and it has almost nothing to do with the film itself. It's mostly them in London cleaning up Thor's mess. Yeah, that's the gist of the beginning of the episode. Lady Sif herself will return for 2 episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I believe it was like 1 episode of Season 2, 1 and 1 episode of Season 2. The first one basically was Lady Sif going to retrieve basically the Enchantress's younger sister. The other one was her being brainwashed to do something else. But otherwise, though, that was it for Lady Sif, because that was one thing I do. I will want to talk with Thor Ragnarok. She's like one of the silver characters she's one big character who was missing from Thor Ragnarok. But yeah, that's it for this particular review, and that's last videos today. Now tomorrow, I'm going to have roughly about 3 videos due tomorrow, and that'll be a review of, actually about 4 per se, review newest episode of One Piece, newest episode of Boruto, and plus 2 more movie reviews. Now my next movie review, I'm going to talk about the second Captain America film, Captain America Winter Soldier. Yes, I will talk about this film, my next movie review tomorrow, which will be episode 128. Yep, but this next review. Bye.